Hey guys, welcome to the Plant Medicine for PTSD podcast. This episode a little bit different. Talking to somebody not about plant medicine and somebody who doesn't have PTSD. But I'm joined today by my friend slash former mentor of mine, Clayton. I guess current mentor. I was basically here just asking him questions. I say former mentor because Clayton's actually a marketing and business coach that Cordy and I worked with way back in the day when I was still doing my physical therapy for jiu-jitsu athletes business. So that's how I knew Clayton, just through the internet and then through his coaching program. And he's always been somebody that I've kind of looked up to, as I'll talk about in this episode. He's a little bit further along than I am, just in life and running a business and having children, and seems like a rad dude and somebody who really has his shit together. And so that's why when a couple weeks ago I saw that he had put out a podcast episode about getting diagnosed with ADHD, I knew that that was something that I wanted to hear more about. And I listened to that episode, and it was just like a checklist of my life. Like everything that he said, I resonated with so deeply. And so, to be completely honest, this podcast episode you're about to listen to, it was a deeply selfish endeavor. I really just wanted to text Clayton and say, hey, can I just ask you questions about ADHD for an hour? But instead, I said, hey, man, how about you come on my podcast and we talk about this, because a lot of our clients and people who listen to this show also have ADHD and executive dysfunction and things like that. So basically, this is an hour of therapy for me dressed up as a podcast episode for you. So I guess thanks for listening to this to give me an excuse to just pick Clayton's brain about this. But I do think that it'll probably be somewhat valuable for those of you with actual ADHD and executive dysfunction and things like that. And also just give you a little look behind the curtain at the things that I still struggle with. We try to be pretty transparent about that with our clients, not pretending like I have everything figured out or that I have all the answers. So, yeah, this episode will give you a little peek inside my brain and inside the shit that I still struggle with. So, thank you for being a witness to that. And obviously, thanks to Clayton for taking some time to talk with me about all of this stuff. So, let's get into it. So Clayton, my podcast, Plant Medicine for PTSD podcast. It's all about veterans and first responders. You're not a veteran or a first responder.
Mm,
You don't have PTSD. I think you do appreciate mushrooms from
I
time to
do.
time,
Yeah.
allegedly. Um, but
Allegedly, yes.
allegedly, yeah, you're a respectable family man. You wouldn't do any of that stuff. But no, man, I wanted to talk to you about your recent fucking ADHD journey, which is like the most millennial thing to call
It
it.
is. It really is.
Yeah. But I was listening to your episode, and it just really felt like it was just a checklist of my entire life. And
Mhm.
I have an appointment next week with a psychiatrist to get evaluated to hopefully. Honestly, I was thinking about it like, if we'll just run this like a scientific experiment hypothesis, I am a piece of shit and my business is failing because of ADHD. So let's test out
I
some
need some
Ritalin and
scapegoat.
see.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I've gone back and forth in my head so much of just like, is this just, a character flaw, if you will, or this is just like my work, my shadow work, my stuff to that I need to work through, or is it just an objectively like something's wrong with my brain that we can just medicate? I don't know, man. Especially because I preach so much that people don't need to be on SSRIs, for instance, because we
Right.
can heal from these things and work through them, and plant medicine helps, and this and that. So I don't feel like it's, admitting defeat or something to try this, but it has been weird for me to wrap my head around that. But I'm also just at a point where like my business and family are suffering because of it. So I kind of need to try something. So,
It's
um,
yeah, like I think like anything in life, it's a combination and it's a blend. It's nuance. So it's not like, okay, is it just ADHD and I take this pill and everything's grand now? Or is it also just like I have some bad habits or environmental, things, or, just like a general phone addiction paired with that. So for me, it's definitely been a combination, and it's kind of been like I don't know, man. Like you look back and things start to make sense. You know what I mean? I look back at like things in high school, or I've kind of a piss poor memory, so like I don't remember a ton of stuff, but there are things that I look back where I struggled. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That was ADHD. It wasn't like just me procrastinating, you know what I mean? And I got like pretty much straight A's. I crushed college. I did things really well. And so then you kind of like fly under the radar with like kind of like, you're not dyslexic, or you're not like have other things that are a little bit more easily identifiable. For people, it's like, okay, like you have difficulty reading, or you have difficulty with this, so let's address it. But because I was like checking the boxes and doing well, it just kind of, keep going, dude. But I was like stressed out, like because I would just wait to do something until like the last possible moment, and then I would just like pump out a pure adrenaline fueled, genius, brilliant paper, or crush the exam, or whatever it was. But man, it really was burning me out for sure. And like now with, having kids, like you understand, with having kids and running a business, actually it's been I'm bad with timelines, but I think a year and a half now. It's almost 2 years to the date of when I got laid off from my health coaching job. So that was a corporate gig, shirt and tie, going in the office, wearing a headset, helping people with weight loss, quitting smoking, nutrition, that kind of stuff. But I was still working part-time for them. And when I got laid off with 1,000 other people that got laid off from that company, just no notice, just like, boom, you're done kind of thing, I realized that I didn't have any bookends into my schedule, right? And because like for that, I was working for them Tuesday and Thursday. I'd put on the corporate Clayton hat Tuesday, work 10 hours, and then Make Moves coaching was Monday, Wednesday, and then put on corporate Clayton again for Thursday for 10 hours, and then Friday was Make Moves coaching, right? And I realized now that was gone, I had a full freaking calendar just open, right? So many possibilities, so much room for activities, right? So many things I could do, right? And like for that first week and a half, I think it was just anxiety fueled adrenaline, being like, well, it's game time, it's go time, right? So for the first week and a half, 2 weeks, I was prolific. I think I landed like 7 new clients, created 3 new trainings and lead magnets. I like booked so many sales calls. I had no idea that how capped I was. Like I was stifling myself. Now I'm just going to unleash this fury and grow my business to like unbelievable, heights, right? But once that kind of wore off, and I had like more bigger gaps in my calendar, right? Maybe a day where I only had 1 client call, or something like that. I started to just spin, and I couldn't execute on certain things, and I was kind of like flailing with certain things, and I would put certain things off, like certain work tasks, or like things for clients, or like things that just felt like, ugh, I don't know how to start that, and I'll just kept putting it off, right? And what ended up happening was just the shame and the guilt, and being like, I gotta do this. Like, I gotta make money. I gotta provide and pay our mortgage and all this like adulting shit. And I was no amount of like strategy. Like I knew I needed help, but I didn't need like, a business coach, or I didn't need more strategy. I just need, like, I knew what I needed to do. I just help me do it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when, I'll shout her out, Kelly Bombs. She puts out great ADHD content, and so I started getting more ADHD from the almighty algorithm gods, sending it my way, and I'm consuming more of it.
My page is saturated right now.
Yeah, and right now my algorithm's a mix of ADHD and biking, which I'm not mad at, but a little bit of bass in there as well. But essentially that's my algorithm. But it started making more sense. And then I was just like, is this just like a confirmation bias? Is it just me wanting to want this and like needing an outlet and like needing a reason on why I'm kind of like screwing up in my eyes? But then as I started, like Kelly in particular, like she had a way with talking about content that wasn't like fear mongering. It wasn't like, like you like this, like be more anxious, be more this, like you need this, like the content was very inviting and wholesome, and it started to click in a lot of ways. And I was just like, wow, like, and I looked at her thing. She offered one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I was like, I've done group coaching before. Like, I just want to work with Kelly, right? And so then I kind of made the decision to do it, and she was actually going on maternity leave, and so I was actually working with one of her other coaches, who's fantastic. I'll shout her out. Heidi has just been the GOAT. I've worked with her for 3 months now, and like helps me help myself so much. Like it's just so good. And I identify the things where I fumble, where my brain spins in circles and spirals, and like how to creatively experiment with solutions, right? Because like ADHD and really kind of any kind of neurospicy stuff is always a spectrum, right? So if someone like has ADHD, like they could struggle with this or this or this, or I struggle more with that, or more intensely with this or that. But for the work that I'm doing with her, it's been profoundly helpful, and I've actually been able to like move forward a lot of projects and a lot of things that I've been really struggling with and have kept on the back burner for quite a while.
So I definitely identify with what you shared of like all your life you would procrastinate to the last minute, but then you almost learned that that was an effective strategy
It
because you
works.
got straight A's. Yeah.
And
So
you
at
get
what
praised
point,
for it, right? Great
dude?
paper. Good
Yes,
job.
yes,
Wow, you
the hundred
crushed it.
percent.
Yeah.
I was valedictorian of high school, and every single assignment got done the night before it was due or the morning of.
Yep.
So yes.
Oh, it's giving me like
Um,
goosebumps and
what
anxiety at the same time.
And I also I definitely feel what you're saying of when the time structure wasn't there, everything fell apart. Do you feel like that's why we kind of got by for so long? Because like there was something else to show up for.
Super
Like
achievers,
you
dude.
could
Yeah.
yeah, but like why how come when we start our own business, I can't show up for work on time for
Hmm.
myself? Is it because
Yeah.
like I can't get fired from myself? Like, was
Yeah.
that the only thing that kept us showing up at work on time and getting our client work done? Like back when I was working as a physical therapist in the clinic, I was crushing it. Like, and now, yeah, I need to write an email for 7 days, and it's like it takes 4 seconds to do it.
Yeah, it's
Why is
so you,
that?
you bring up such an interesting point. A lot of us are, like we also kind of operate like out of like people pleasing, you know what I mean? So if you have a boss who's like, saying like, hey, these is what you need to do, or you have expectations where you have to answer to someone else, that's can be a big motivator. But when I look back to like high school and college, like I played soccer and swam, and like there were some days where I'd wake up early morning swim practice before school, go to school, have soccer practice for 2 hours, and then go strength train and swim for another hour, and somehow like find time to do homework and shit. Like I was so like just dialed in with like activities that were like mentally challenging, physically challenging, and and then you just kind of like thrive in that. But when that's pulled out for me, like when you're in college and you're no longer a college athlete, or you're no longer doing this, like now you just have like this ambiguous blob of time and opportunity. And that's the thing that I think like becoming a parent, I realized too, is that I actually have this one lead that I've been talking to for probably about like 2 or 3 months in the DMs, and he's expecting his first kid. He's like, how is that going to change my ability to do work with you? And I just gave him a very honest answer. I was like, I have 22-year-olds with like no kids, no like, mortgage, and they can be successful and put, a lot of work out. But a lot of times those types of clients can flounder as well because they just don't have like the time constraints or the demands, or need to perform. And when I became a parent, I realized that like my time is like you have less time, right? Because even that, like, okay, baby's gonna go down for a 2 hour nap, yeah, in theory, but like that's never really, what I mean, like you can't bank on that, right? And so like, okay, I either have 20 minutes or 2 hours, and I gotta just get this shit done. And so I found that like those time constraints can help you to be more productive. But getting back to your question with like, you know, why can't you make yourself do certain things? There's this like urgency, like this is urgency or this is important. And it's hard for us to kind of like, for me at least, to kind of distinguish, right? Because if I look at my like, and I've tried lots of different like to-do lists, habit trackers, different things. And I finally found like a thing that's been working for a couple months now. But I used to put like, here's what I'm going to do today. And that list was like 17 things long, right? Just like, I'm so like over ambitious of what I think I can get done. And then it'll take me like 2 hours to actually get into like a task or something. And so when you have that, it's you become frustrated, and then you become mad or ashamed, or you feel like you can't do anything, and your confidence starts to plummet, right? And it's that self-efficacy. It's your belief in your ability to get shit done starts to go down. And that
Yeah.
shit bleeds into the next day and the next week and the next month and the next quarter and the next year, right? And so I realized like I didn't need new fancy like, I don't even like business strategy or whatever. Like I knew what I needed to do. Like I've already learned this stuff and I've already practiced it and it already works. I just need to figure out how to take less off my plate and how to move forward like the biggest money making activities, make those non-negotiable and make it work for my schedule and make it work for my brain. And for those harder tasks that are important, you got to just figure out a way to kind of like make it work. And like that's like having a coach in my corner with that has been so helpful to just soundboard ideas. And again, too, she's brilliant. Heidi's awesome, but like I end up like solving a lot of my problems just like talking and thinking out loud. So
I mean, I feel like that's effective coaching. Like that's kind of what I tell our clients. Like I have almost no answers for you. I can teach you a couple of objective things, but other than that, I'm helping you ask better questions and you figure it out.
mhm.
So to that point, what do you feel like Kelly and Heidi are actually doing for you, and like what do you attribute to the medication? What do you attribute to them?
Yeah, I mean the medication definitely helps for me. And you could poll 100 different people and people have 100 different opinions, and you can read Reddit threads and
I've from doing some of that, I've seen people just be like, "Yeah, I took Ritalin, and then I just really intensely scrolled Instagram for 8 hours."
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I built an AI chatbot that I don't need, kind of shit. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting, right? So we seek like novel experience or things we're passionate about or like things that like it's just so interesting and you kind of like for me with the medication, let me just lay out a typical day. So I wake up around like I don't know 6:45 and get the kids ready around like 7ish, and kids are we get them in the morning routine, and then I don't really kind of sit down for work until like 9:15ish, and then I take my medicine right at like 7 a.m. essentially, so it starts to kick in, and I'll know it's kicking in when I'm starting to like organize my thoughts in like my brain dump for my to-do list for that day. So things start becoming a little bit more clear because otherwise I'm ping-ponging between ideas and never really finishing a thought and just going to another thought and like, oh, I should do this and do this and do this. And before I knew it, I put 20 things on my plate for that day, and then I'm going to be overwhelmed and not be able to do anything. So it starts becoming more clear on like what is the actual next step I need to do. So I'll start to like just brain dump that, and then I can kind of categorize it. And so then when I sit down at 9:30, that's when I actually reach out to all my leads, right? So you kind of have to identify like what are the big money making activities, what are the big needles that are going to move your business forward, right? And so for me, if I have it here, it's a grid post, right? So that could be a reel or a carousel, like just posting on Instagram, selling in my Instagram stories, following up with leads, conversation with leads. I have a new follower DM automation with ManyChat, but sometimes I also like to go above and beyond and like reach out to those potential kind of dream client caliber people. And so I'll do that as well. Exercise and lunch are like I found to be extreme non-negotiables for me. Like anytime I'm not moving my body, it could be a kettlebell workout, it could be biking, it could be just going on a hike or a walk, going on a run. Like if I don't do that, like I get super just like in my head, and I'm not able to like actually get things done. So I need to move my body in order for my brain to calm down enough in order to like do what it needs to do. And then lunch is a big one too. So when I'm like working, a lot of times I would forget to eat lunch, and my lunch would be like 5 or 6 sour gummies and like the leftover mac and cheese my kid didn't eat, and like that was my lunch, and or I would just not eat it at all, and I'm just like, and I can't operate on that. Like I'm a grown ass man, and I need this fuel for my brain and for my body and stuff. So when you pair like skipping exercise, skipping lunch, and not getting great sleep, and on like a dysregulated nervous system, if you're not addressing your stress and doing things you need to do, like it's just a perfect storm for dysregulation and not being productive with ADHD. So for me, like I have those things that I hit every single day, and I have to hit those because those are the things that move the needle forward for my business. And then anything on top of that is just kind of bonus. And again, it's not sexy. It's not this crazy strategy. It's just something I do consistently every single day.
What do you, Clayton? What do you attribute the avoidance to? Like prior to sorting all this out, right? You would have these leads to reach out to, and you're like, objectively, this is what will make me money, which will solve my stress. Like pretty much sales solves almost every issue that you have, like pressingly at least. And if you know, pre-figuring this out, you're like me, like that is the thing that you probably avoided doing the most,
Yeah.
right? That's what I currently am avoiding. I should probably be doing that right now instead of
Yeah.
scheduling this
You can do
podcast
it right
with you.
after this podcast.
I
But
will. I
yeah,
need to.
dude, that's a
So what?
fantastic freaking question. The main thing, well, there's a couple of things. One is that like you feel like it's going to take way longer than it will take. And a lot of times too, like, so vagueness is my enemy, right? So like just vague, not specific, right? So if I just say like, reach out to leads, and I put a 30-minute window or an hour window on my calendar, like like I think that's specific, but apparently for my brain it's just too vague and it feels like it's too big of a thing. So I'm just not going to do it, right? And the longer you kind of put something off too, the bigger and scarier the monster in the closet becomes, right? And you're just like, oh shit, like I haven't done this forever. Like you look at a habit tracker and you don't have that for all month. You're like, oh man, it's gonna be so much effort. But like, there's this one girl, I don't remember her handle, but she's just like, welcome to today's episode of like, how long does it take? Today, I'm going to be cleaning my junk drawer. And she's like, how long does it take? Let's find out. And then she hyperlapses it, right? And then it's just like 17 minutes. And how long did I put this off for? 8 months. So like, and it's funny because it's true, right? And so like, for me, I struggle with like anything doctor appointment related. It could be the dentist, it could be eye exam, it could be like getting a new PCP, it could be car registration, taxes, anything like that where I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be a big old adulting thing. Like, man, like I avoided like the plague, right? And I still need to get a new PCP, right? But it's one of those things where like the longer it stays on my to-do list, the more guilt and shame I have about it, and then the bigger I feel like it's gonna take. Whereas like when you actually walk through that door, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. So the one thing that we kind of landed on is that I need specificity, I need smaller chunks, and I need to experiment with like just start it, right? So like if it's a client task, like, hey, build out 4 automations for David, right, with ManyChat, I'd be like, okay, I gotta build out 4 automations. That's gonna be a lot of effort, right? But if I could just like start the first automation, right? Just open ManyChat, just start it, right? I'm like, okay, I just started. Oh, well, I'm just gonna do this. And before I know it, I'm in it, right? I'm like, well, that was easy. I'm gonna tackle the next 3, right? But if I say, okay, an hour block time, and I just put like take care of clients on it, or a 2-hour block time, take care of clients. It's that law of there's a law of something where it's just like the amount of time you give to something, like you'll take that much
Right.
time.
The work expands to fill the time that's allowed
Exactly,
for it.
like a goldfish in a bigger tank, or when you start a new tube of toothpaste, you're just gonna squeeze that thing on there. But when you're getting near the end, you're like, man, you're just like a ninja at rationing and getting every little bit amount out there. I can do that with like my hair wax and stuff, So yeah,
Like
we're just
break
going to
down
use
the
that amount of
starting
time.
point to be extremely
shorter,
small and extremely specific.
Extremely specific and smaller bouts. Like you can still block off a 2-hour thing, but like in that 2-hour thing, block off like a very specific task for that very specific thing. For example, relaunching my podcast, had on my to-do list for like so long, like 2 years, and just kept putting it off because it just felt like such this big lift. But when I honestly looked at it, I'm like, what are every single step that I need to do to get this off the ground, right? Okay, I need this. And I got like micro steps, and it was this huge checklist, but I could start chipping away at it. And it was just like a lot more doable. So if you have these bigger projects and tasks, like just chipping away at it. Getting back to your original question though, like for example, like reaching out to leads, if that's going to make you money and grow your business, why do we avoid it, right? So that's one thing. It can feel like a big thing. The second thing, and this is more kind of like, if you're talking about like shadow work or something, it's like maybe you don't feel like you're good enough to take on new clients, right? Maybe you don't feel like you're effective, or like maybe there's doubt on something else. Or I've had this epiphany too, where I have some clients that it's like pulling teeth, and I'm just like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And then, they just don't, execute. And it can be frustrating for them, it can be frustrating for me. Or it takes a lot of time. They got a lot on their plate, maybe a death of a loved one, or they're expecting their first kid, or whatever it is, right? But I sometimes could self-sabotage, right? Because it's just like, well, if I take on a couple new clients, what if they're all like super needy, need a lot of hand-holding and a lot more effort from me, right? But what if they're rockstar clients? Like I've got like 7 clients right now. I'm looking at my clients list that like they just like crush it. I'm like, hey, let's do this. And they're like, cool, done. Awesome. All right, start plugging that.
Yeah.
And I just like did it. And I'm like, oh my
that's
God,
something I'm sorry. That's something I've been playing with of like as I'm messaging new people on Instagram, imagining that they are going to become my new favorite person and like my
Mhm.
new best friend client and just like have so much fun working with them and like I just don't know it yet. And I'll
Mhm.
even think of a current client that I love and be like, they were once a random person on Instagram and
Yeah.
now I love them and I love working with them. So
Yeah.
I
And
yeah.
so like dude, I love that as well. Cause I mean, you're just envisioning that, you're planning for that, you're expecting that, you're opening that up. And the other thing too is like, um, like we put roadblocks a lot of the time. And then also just like rejection too. What if they're like, oh, not right now, or like, oh, I went with another coach, or like, I'm just, and so like, there's, and I don't, it could be a combination like people pleasing, rejection, kind of sensitivity. I don't lean too far into that because like, it is what it is. And the older I get, I kind of, you know, make peace with that. But you got to go through a lot of no's or a lot of not right nows until you get to that. And also too, I just found the art of the follow up, like just pinging people, like and having a CRM that I actually use and knowing who I want to touch base with and at what timeline, and just being human. And just like one of my past clients was like, dude, like I just love the way that you like talk with me in the DMs. It's not like there's no pressure, there's no whatever, and like I appreciate that, and I remember that. It's that whole adage of like they're not going to remember what you say, but they're going to remember how you make them feel, right? And it's so true. And there's another post that one of my old clients sent me. He's like, this made me think of you. And it was this dude who is a real estate agent. And he was talking about like one of the goated real estate agents, like of, of their millennia, right? So it was like maybe back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. He's like an old head, right? And he goes, his whole marketing strategy for being the number one real estate agent like in the nation with like sales and closing and percentages and stuff like that. His whole strategy was writing every single client of his a handwritten card every month, like every month, without and like so. And this guy's had hundreds, maybe thousands of clients. Just did it right, handwritten card. Hey, how's this kid, that kid, this right? No motive. Like, hey, if you know anyone looking to buy or sell, let me know. Just a touch point, right? And the overwhelming amount of just like, holy shit, like whatever this guy's name was, like Jeff is just like such a good dude, right? And then you're just like continually top of mind, right? And when the like I always tell my clients, like, you're not in the art of twisting people's arms, right? Like I'm never gonna be like, it's now or never, or like, read out your credit card number. Like that shit drives me crazy. Like I can't believe people like do that stuff, right? It's where you show up consistently and the opportunity meets that right time in their life where it's the decisional balance of, I call it the I'm done moment. I'm done. Like, I'm done trying to just figure out my anxiety. I'm done trying to like push this PTSD like down and stuff. I'm ready to face it. Like, I'm done trying to like, figure this out on my own or tinker with this or, listen to podcasts or binge like, all these self-help books. Like, I want to face it. I want to solve it. Or for me, it's like, I'm done trying to like piece this strategy together and try and do this person's content strategy and that person. Like, I just want someone to tell me what to do and I'm ready to do it, right? So when you show up consistently enough and you message your leads enough and you are just like a genuine human being on the internet, the right time will happen for them. And when it does, you're ready. And so I just thought that was brilliant with like the handwritten cards. And again, like I can't really do that because like I don't want to, I respect my clients' privacy. I'm not going to ask for everyone's address, but what is the digital equivalent of that? And it's just a voice memo, right? Yo, dude, been thinking about you. How's life? How's the kids? Like, are you still doing this? Like, let me know, right? And again, there's no like, and people's spidey senses might be kind of up, right? They might be like, oh God, Clayton's gonna pitch me and try and get me on a call or ask me about my business, and I'm not. Like, I'm really not. But if you take the conversation that way, sure, I'll talk to you about that. Yeah, how's it going? What are you working on? Oh, do you need some help with that? I got a lead mag for that. Boom, here you go. And they're like, thanks, right? And so you just become this person in their mind that when they're ready, they're going to you. And there'll be some weeks where like I don't get any inquiries on my like selling in my Instagram stories, like 2 weeks, right? But because I keep showing up and people keep seeing that, and maybe, they, in their mind, they're like, I'm going to reach out to Clayton in the spring. I'm going to reach out to Clayton in June. I'm going to reach out to Clayton in July. And then they have that I'm done moment, right? And maybe it was like a very powerful storytelling post I did. Maybe it was a very specific client win that they resonated or connected with. And so, yeah, dude, like it's once you kind of do that thing you're avoiding and you consistently do it, like right now on my habit tracker, I'm probably about, I don't know, 15 days into like consistently following up with leads every day. And it's not scary anymore. And I told my coach, I was like, I want this to not be scary or intimidating anymore. That's a goal of mine, right? Because if it's just easy, like now posting every day, since October 1st, so whatever the math is on that, like hundreds of days, it's just a part of what I do now. It doesn't feel like effort. So if you could take the really hard thing or the intimidating thing and make it just second nature and easy, then like that's now your business is running really well. So now you don't have to be like turn your biggest weakness into your biggest strength. Like I'm not talking about shit like that, but just like the things that you need to do. Like if you can do those 5 days a week and not have to like drag yourself out of bed to do it and you just do it, then like think of how much easier it's going to be. So like that's a big thing for me. And last thing I'll say on that, unless you have a follow-up question, is the leads follow-up. I have a this or that, right? So reach out to 5 leads or reach out to leads for 30 minutes, whichever comes first. And once I hit that 5 lead mark, it just kind of turns into a fun game. I was like, let's see what I can actually do, right? And so then you kind of like give yourself a little dopamine with like the gamification of it. But you have to figure out what is going to work best for you, right? Whether it's specificity in time or specificity in numbers, right? Like I'm going to reach out to 5 leads, or I'm going to finish 2 lead magnet, whatever, or I'm going to do whatever, the task is that you're avoiding. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Actually, no. This
Good.
was all marketing gold, and I took a lot of notes. It was extremely helpful.
That's just where my brain goes. So yeah, ask the
I
question.
liked it. The question very specifically was like, why do you think we avoid this thing that is the most important thing to do? And you touched on it, of maybe there's the fear of rejection, which I don't think either of us really feel. I think part of maybe what I've struggled with is the not being good enough, not necessarily just that I can help these people. I know that we can, but the capacity thing.
Yeah.
Like back when I was doing physical therapy, back when I worked with you,
Yeah.
I only ever had 7 clients at a time. And my family would give me so much shit. They'd be like, how many clients you got? No matter what, when they asked me, it was 7. And I think deep down I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to keep up with things with more people. And we're well past 7 now. But still, I think that might be in the back of my head. But it's a little bit frustrating because I don't feel like I've ever really put my finger on like what it is that I have been avoiding.
Yeah.
And so I maybe this is where like, hey, it's not actually shadow work stuff. It's just you have fucking ADHD and you need this medication. Like maybe that actually is the answer.
Yeah.
But I want to run a theory by you, and maybe it'll help to like boil this down. I think that every addiction, like the addiction itself is not really the problem. So someone who has a drinking problem, they don't have a drinking problem. They have a drinking solution to their pain, to their anxiety problem, or their self-worth, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I think, the phone is certainly an addiction. Honestly, in the past, like porn has been that.
Yeah.
It's been replaced with scrolling, which is better. Still not great,
Yeah.
but objectively probably less of a mortal sin.
Totally.
So I don't know still what problem that solves exactly. And maybe I need to give up looking for it and just take the Ritalin or work with Heidi, or maybe putting my finger on that would help. So what do you think that has been for you?
Yeah, I think if we're speaking about this generally too, it's kind of like if you look at that nervous system regulation, homeostasis, right? Like you become familiar with a certain level of being. And
sure.
I saw this a lot too when working with people who, are struggling with chronic pain. Like if they've had back pain for 2 years, it becomes a big part of your identity, right?
Totally.
Same if you're dealing with addiction, or if you have some chronic illness that you're diagnosed with, like you start to like, it shapes you. And so then like, even if you want to change your life, right? Even if you're like broke or down and out, like you want to change your life. Yes, I want a better life, but like you can sabotage yourself to keep you there because like it's familiar,
Totally.
right? And you're there,
Totally.
right? And
Yeah.
so it was, that being at 7 clients, right? That's a great example because like, for so long, like my business was straight up, and I promise I won't take this to marketing business too much, but like I was stuck at 25K a year for 4 years, right? And it was just like trying to share. And I always said I wanted more money, I wanted more clients, but I wasn't like willing to get uncomfortable to do the work that I needed to do to get to six figures and beyond. And so I think a lot of it is like you have to kind of shed layers of this held belief of who you are in order to become the newer version of you that can have that life that does have 25 clients and is fine with it. So I think that's a big thing. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, and like you start playing the what if game. Well, what if like whether on a conscious or subconscious level, you're like, well, what if I can't handle that? What if like people like have a bad experience and ask for refunds? What if this? What if I, break down from all the stress? Like so many things, but like you're never gonna really know. And so I found that actually walking through the door will give you the confidence to believe that you can become the newer version of yourself. Let me give you another example. It's not business related. So I had to really change the inner narrative of myself with my back. And like you saw too, you're like, I don't want to see that shit, man. You're like, I had that video where I'm like limping with two canes, and it's like, it was hard to see myself like that. But the reality was like, I was overweight. I was drinking a ton. My back was hurting. I ended up getting back surgery. It was a whole mess. And this inner health narrative is that like, also like I could never be an endurance athlete. Not that I want to be an athlete. Like we're all athletes, right? But like I don't need to compete. But like I wanted to feel like I had the ability to like run really far or like bike for a long time. And so like biking has been quite a gift for me because it's way more fun than running in my opinion, but it's easier on the body, yes. And you can actually cover a lot more ground, and it's really, really fun. But I biked 100 miles in one day. This was like, last summer. It was a couple months ago, but it unlocked something in my brain where I was like, holy shit, I can do hard things. Like, wow, I'm able to do this. And it started with like, okay, I'm going to go on a bike ride over, lunch. And I was like, oh, I got 3 miles in. Oh, cool. I'm like, I got this in. I'm like, oh, wow, I hit 7 miles. My first 10-mile ride. Like, wow. I'm like, oh, I can ride my bike from my front door down to the point, right, in Pittsburgh, at like where the three rivers meet, and back. Oh, that was 25 miles. I did that in like X amount of time. Amazing. And so as I kept doing more things related to that thing, I started to slowly believe that I can be this kind of person, that I can do this kind of stuff. And so I think that, you just kind of have to do the smaller building block steps in order to build the body of work and the proof that you have the capacity to change. And before you know it, I went on a ride yesterday and it was like 20 miles and I just like had an hour and I was like, I'm going to just like sprint and just see how many miles I can get. And I was just like, that's incredible. Like, and I think that's the big thing is like, don't try and like wrap your mind around like, how can I achieve this outcome? You're like, okay, that's the outcome. Here are the steps I think I needed to take, or you talk to a coach and they say, these are the steps you need to take. And you're like, great, I'm going to just do these things so consistently that I start to believe that like I can do that. Right. So that's a big thing.
You still haven't actually answered my question, Clayton, but I am going to extract and extrapolate an answer, which is,
thing, yeah.
I think it's all boils down to self-efficacy. Everything that you've described, whether it was with your back and with biking, whether it was with breaking down the task to be so small that you're like, well, of course I could message 5 people today. Of course I can do that. But it's when we don't believe that we are capable of doing the thing that we'll find all the reasons not to do it. And now we have proof of like, see, like I knew I couldn't do that. And I think that's where a lot of the self-sabotage comes from too, is like protecting us from the failure that would come from that. Because I kind of laugh when people talk about like a fear of failure. It's like, I know exactly how to fail. I'm not afraid of that. I've been doing that for decades.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's the being successful thing that I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the uncharted waters of it. And there's also the idea too. It's like, what is your true capacity? And like you might have this predetermined, like I probably can't take 10 clients, but I found too that if you can take on more, whether it's more miles, more clients, more whatever, like you can actually find your actual true ceiling before you like we don't want people to burn out or have a panic attack or just take on way too much. But you can't find the leaks in the boat until you put people in it and put it in the water and like, oh, there's a leak, right? Let's fix that. And so I found that like right now I've got 18 clients, and like I've with having that caseload before, because I was much like you guys, sometimes look, I'm like, oh, I got 3 clients. Okay. And would be that way for a while. And um, you start to figure out like how to make things more efficient, how to make your deliverables more efficient, how to do onboarding more efficiently, how to, create templates and stuff for your clients and all this other stuff. But yeah, I think that's a big thing is like you have to believe, but it's hard to believe when you don't have any action or proof. And I think our brains really crave that forward momentum, especially with ADHD. Like you need to feel progress because a lot of times too we struggle with open loops, right? So we'll start something and then not finish it, and then like we start to feel like crap because of that, and then we start something else like, oh, squirrel, we do this and we move that forward and move that, and then when you look, I was so busy today, I was working so hard, and you got nothing to show for it because nothing was fully done, and that's so
Leave those
frustrating.
days.
And so when you can take more off of your plate and just have like 3 things in front of you, you're like, all right, I'm gonna crush these 3 things, right? And then all right, now I'm gonna put more on the plate, more on the plate. But you have to finish things. That's the biggest thing is like unfinished projects will crush your soul.
Do you have people, Clayton, that you look up to, that you're friends with, not coaches that you hire, just like a
Mhm.
personal circle of people around you that you feel like are making you do better?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like I don't have that.
It's and it's cool because like I don't like idolize people as much as I used to earlier on. Like I used to really put people on pedestals, but like now it's like I'm just slowly becoming more proud of the person that I've become. And I think it's kind of never really thought of that, but it's kind of huge for me. Like I don't really like idolize or fanboy over people that much, like in the space, or like look to like heroes or something like that. And even
Mhm.
in my personal life too, like and this could just be getting older or like having kids and your um, ability to do other things just kind of shrinks. But like I used to look at certain people, like one of my best friends, they're actually our kids' godparents. They live in an Airstream. Shout out Paul and Shannon. They're awesome. I love them. But they live in an Airstream and travel all over the United States national parks and make YouTube videos. And they have like other business ventures they do, but like they're like living a really awesome life. And like old me, maybe like, back in like 2019 or something like that, would look at that and be like, ah, man, like the FOMO and like man, I really want that. I want that experience. I want to get out there and like climb and, do all that stuff. But now I'm just like, I've made peace with like, the here and now and like what my day actually looks like. Like I work from
Yeah.
home, I go on bike rides, I hang out with my kids at 4 p.m. and put them to bed, and it's just Groundhog Day. But like, it's, I love it. I love the life I'm creating. And so like, I've just kind of like really put on a lot of the blinders. And I think in terms of like ADHD and also in terms of like the age of information where there's just literally infinite possibilities on things you could learn, things you could implement, things you could get busy with doing. Like there's like so much information, so many possibilities, so many things you should be doing, right? That's kind of a shitty feeling, right? When you take a lot of that off your plate, you can just focus on the things that actually bring you pure joy, or grow your business, and you can like get more done with doing less, essentially.
All right, last thing I want to actually ask you about, because this has mostly just been a therapy session for me disguised as a podcast.
I'm glad.
Um,
You ask really great questions, dude. I'm sorry if I always never answer your
no,
question.
no, man, it's great, dude. I told Cordy the other day that I was doing this, and I was like, yeah, I really just wanted to talk to Clayton,
Yes.
and
It's
I was
one way. We
like,
could do another one. Just talk.
dude, there's very few people. This is why I just asked that question, man. There's very few people that I actually like look up to, not idolizing, but it's like you're, a little bit older than me, further along in the business, have the 2 kids already. I got, one on the way.
Hmm.
And there's like you and my buddy Rob, who's like a 40-year-old dude who lives in Pennsylvania, also that I haven't seen in 3 years. He's like my
Yeah.
best friend. I haven't talked to him in like 2 years.
Call him
But
today. Call him today.
anyway, I will. I was texting him the other day. My actual question related to ADHD. Talk to me about the experience with the medication. So,
Yeah.
was there a process of dialing in the dosage? How did you guys determine what was right for you? And you don't take it every day, right? So it's just like performance enhancing drug on the days where you need to focus. Is that kind of how you use it?
Yeah. I take it Monday through Friday. Cause
Okay.
like my I really struggle like because like the day-to-day life like I enjoy doing dishes. I enjoy doing like some housework. I enjoy like playing with the kids. I love doing certain things, and so like I don't need to like take medication in order to like get that daily task stuff done.
Sure.
Like I just
Yeah.
it's just part of what I do. But like work stuff that feels like intimidating or stressful. So like that, yeah, like it's purely just like I need to get work done that I maybe found intimidating or a little bit boring or a little bit like whatever. And so yeah, I just take it Monday through Friday, and that's kind of nice too because like you kind of like the tolerance component, right? Like with any drug or whatever. And so, yeah, I take it Monday through Friday, and it is like I looked at it, and I think most people are like this. Like I took like Adderall and Vyvanse in college to like crush papers,
Okay.
or like pull an all-nighter for like finals exams. Like I knew so many people in college that did that, so like I was familiar with like my experience with it. But also when it comes down to like, okay, what's the setting and intention, kind of thing. So,
Yeah, for sure.
before it's just like, well, I was also like binge drinking Thursday through Saturday, and also like just didn't have my prefrontal cortex fully developed, and just like had different values and things that I were important to me. So it's much different now. Like at my age and where I'm at in life, like I can now like respect it and appreciate it, and like structure my day so I get the most out of it. So that being said, when he looked and he's like, okay, you've tried this, you've tried this. I think like maybe an extended release would be good. And he talked to me about like, okay, what's your day? Where do you struggle with? What's your experience with this? What's your experience with that? Like, do you drink a ton of coffee? So just kind of getting a little bit of an experience. And then the interesting thing about medication, and I had no idea about this, is that, it is a stimulant, but it basically if you have ADHD, you're not able to like produce enough dopamine to like actually just get your brain to like be interested in doing a lot of things. And so it gives you that dopamine, but for some people, like the only side effects you're going to really get is like anxiety or like difficulty sleeping. So you like if you have any of or like racing heart, so like just like the obvious stuff, you're like, wow, I'm super anxious, or wow, my heart is pounding, or I can't sleep. I'm completely wired. Then like, okay, then you can just like tether the dose down, right? But like if you're not feeling that, then you're fine. And again, I'm not a doctor, right? But like, as you're working through this process, and so then it becomes like, okay, how much is enough to feel like your brain is more linearly thinking, and you're able to like get into task, and you're thinking more clearly, and you feel that lift off. So that's definitely a component of it. Like, yeah. So for me, we just kind of like I think nailed the dose on the first time. Like maybe I could do a higher dose, but I really don't feel like I need it. So I'm on 20 milligrams of extended release Adderall, and
Okay.
it basically I take it 7, and then I feel the effects kind of wear off around like 2 p.m. ish, which is again like that's fine for me because like that's like when I get the bulk of my work done. And I never had any of those bad side effects, and I feel like I got enough of a kind of a boost that I think of it like a almost like a catalyst for like a chemical reaction in chemistry, right? So if you got
Right.
like it takes this much of an amplitude or whatever to like have the reaction, the catalyst just like lowers that amplitude, lowers that bar so that you can just like hop over it easier. So like that's
Totally.
kind of the imagery that comes into my head. But the other thing is too is like don't when the medication kicks in, like don't be like cleaning your house or like doing laundry or doing like just like try and be in the setting where you can get work done. Your
Mm.
environment is huge, right? Like changing my office and making like reminders and making it clean and making like the things that are accessible and removing the distractions and removing the things that I struggle with
Yep.
also helps to just like have the medication have a
This
direction.
sounds this sounds exactly like what we teach people for microdosing mushrooms.
Exactly,
Like the
yeah.
same stuff applies. And dude, with having the environment clean, I'm looking around at my desk. My desk is a shit show. And I
Mhm.
literally told Cordy yesterday, I was like, "Can you please help me clean my desk?" Because somehow I clean it every couple days and somehow it's disgusting again. And I've just accepted that I can't actually do it. Apparently, I'm a 31-year-old man and I can't keep my desk tidy somehow. I was like, maybe I need a woman's touch in here. And
Yeah,
she's like, no problem. That's why I'm your wife. And I was like, that was the best answer possible. I'm
totally.
so sorry that I am this way.
No, and again too, like what you talk about is just a little micro accountability too, right? Like when and the ADHD world, they call it like body doubling, right? So there's
I've
lots
heard
of
that
ways.
term.
What's
Yeah,
that?
what is this? What I've heard that term. What does that mean?
So it's like, let's say, what's a task that you've been avoiding work wise?
Oh, dude, I'm like 2 years behind on my taxes.
Okay, yeah. So taxes, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's a big one, right? So like you could say with Cordy, right? Like, hey, tomorrow from like 9 to 10:30, I want to just like gather all the paperwork. So again, you're not putting like on your calendar, get
Do
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah, yeah, do
Yeah,
taxes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're saying like, okay, like what are all the steps I need to do? Okay, all right. So maybe like from that hour and a half, you say like find every piece of paperwork or digital document or like download your Stripe, CSV file or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Break it down into the
Like just
steps.
like
Yeah.
gather all the documents. And so I'm going to do that from 9 to 10:30. Can you do me a favor? Can you just sit next to me while I do that? You don't have to do any of the work. Like I'll do it, but like I just need you like there next to me so that I'm not going to scroll on my phone, right? So,
Bro, that's so real.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been so many times where like I'll hear someone coming up the stairs, whether it's like her or like
I'm
see
working.
someone
I'm
all of a
working.
sudden- Yeah, dude. And that's been that way my entire life, ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Or as a little kid too, it was like, I'm not eating. I'm not eating snacks in the kitchen right now.
Yeah.
100% not me. All right, that makes sense. Last actual last question, because I know you gotta be respectful of your time. How has this stuff affected your relationship with your wife? And maybe with your kids too.
So she's
But,
actually
like,
found out that she's also a little bit neurospicy there with that. So she's yeah. We learned a lot about both of ourselves, and it's been cool. She hasn't started medication, but she's gonna explore looking into it and stuff like that. But just more acceptance on like who we are. Like she is my absolute best friend, and like we communicate well. It's the easiest person I've ever like had as a friend, and it's so cool like that we get to like raise these little kids together too. But
I mean, that's beautiful. But
Yeah.
like when you were struggling with stuff, was it like weighing on your guys' relationship? Was it like causing stress, or it never really touched that very much?
no, never really like on our relationship. It was more an internal, just beating the shit out of myself, essentially. But like never any pressure from her, never any like just support. And it's like she might like kind of say like, hey, like maybe like maybe you should talk to someone. Maybe you should like find like. Because anytime I would like struggle with my business, like when I actually hired a coach, like things just got better. And so she's like, well, is there some coach you had your eye on, or is there someone like? And I was just like, I don't think I need a coach, but like, I honestly think I just need to like, see if I have ADHD, like take medication, see if that helps, and then like maybe hire this, I don't know, whatever her name is it Kelly? Like maybe I'll hire Kelly, right? And just kind of slowly putting those pieces together, but just like very subtle prompts like that. So it was more of like me being hard on myself than anyone else. But like
Okay.
I recognize the pressure, right? Because you see like, okay, this money is going away now that I lost my job. There was that clear thing we had to displace, and then kids can get expensive with different things, and so it's just and not talking about things out loud. It keeps all of these inner thoughts just pounding against your own brain, and then you just slowly tear yourself down. And so like just like again like just talking with a coach, like over Zoom, like and like for her, like we do like bi-weekly calls, and so it's just been so helpful to know that like I'm not like broken. I just have to find creative ways to work around my brain, and
Okay.
make it work for me. So that like, yeah, it's big. So like, again, like talking with your partner is a big part of it. And just like, being like, hey, I don't know how to fix this, but I know I need some help, kind of thing can just ease the tension a lot.
I mean, Cordy was super stoked that I listened to your podcast. She's the one who found this doctor that I'm going to see next week.
Awesome.
But maybe for us, it's unique too, because we run the business together. And
Yeah.
there's been multiple times where Cordy was like, if you weren't my husband, I would have fired you by now. It's like, You're just not doing the things that need to get done. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the problem. All right, maybe you could send me her Instagram profile.
I'll send you her page, dude. Yeah, it's
Sweet.
fantastic.
There's another dude, Ezra DeWolf is an ADHD coach. They must spend so much money on their retargeting
Oh, I've
ads
seen his
because,
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, dude, the ads are very effective. I've like clicked the links in his emails and started filling out the form like 8 times, and then I stopped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that funny? Yeah. I think I
Yep.
looked at one of his. I think I watched his webinar and then looked at his stuff. But yeah, it's
Well, you know what's funny too is I wonder why people click the links in my email and then stop short of setting up the call.
yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm doing the same fucking thing.
It's I feel like a lot of it's just like we shy away from discomfort, and like there's obvious discomfort, right? Like, you know, like really hard conversations, or like, I don't know, doing like an ultra marathon across the Sahara Desert, like, you know, like that's obvious hardship. But like the smaller day-to-day hard stuff, and I think that we just like we avoid that and we choose cheap dopamine, and we just like keep doing that, and then it's just like, when's the last time you did something hard, you know? And we lose that ability to jump into hard stuff. And I think that, like, when you can conquer those little tiny demons of things you've been putting off and like actually move it forward, like they start to loosen their grip on it. And then you look at your maybe bigger to-do list on things you want to tackle, and like they start to become less intimidating. And also, like, I know I said this in my podcast, but like, you also have to find the ways that you procrastinate. Like, there's obvious ones like, you know, phone addiction, or like, you know, social media, or porn, or like gambling, or, you know, like whatever it is, right? But like for me, like there's like weird stuff too. Like I will like you know, you can see like I've got glucose monitor there, but like I've got like little like scabs and cuts because like I'll literally just like, if I got to do something hard or
pick
stressful,
at
I'll
it.
just like scan my arm for these little like whiteheads or ingrown hairs and just like pop pimples on my arm. Like, just like I'll lose track of time, and I've maybe done that for like 15 minutes. And I know it sounds like super weird, but it's just like, it's just something where it's like, this is stressful. I don't know what to do. I got like 20 minutes. Do I do this or this? Just pop some pimples. Or like I'll go in the mirror and just like pop some blackheads on my nose, or go grab a snack, or do whatever. Like, and so it's like you have to find the ways in which you creatively procrastinate or avoid hard work, and then make that a harder choice. You have to add friction to that. So like I have this like flannel up here, and it's like even in the summer when it's like a little bit hotter on like our third floor office, I will legit have long sleeves on, so that isn't
Just to
an
block
option.
your arms. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and it's so weird, and I'll reflexively go to do that. I'm like, got long sleeves on, can't, you know. And so you just have to figure out like what's in your environment, how do you procrastinate, how can you add friction there, and how can you add like less resistance to things you actually want to do.
Dude, since listening to that podcast, I've always used this app Opal on my phone that blocks other apps, and
Yeah.
then I got one on my laptop too. I think it's literally called Focus.
Yeah.
I'm on like a 7-day free trial. I'm gonna buy it. It's spectacular. It's just like so easy to use it. Yeah, I don't pick my arms. It's funny that like your thing was that you have to force yourself to eat lunch. Like cooking is procrastination for me. So I'm like, oh, I got to do this. Like, how about I go prep pizza dough instead?
Exactly. And it's like it's right. You're doing something for your health. It's creative,
I'm
and
feeding
so yeah,
my pregnant
you justify
wife,
it.
bro. That's
Yeah.
necessary. Yeah, dude. All right, man. This was really helpful. I don't know if this is going to be helpful at all as a podcast for our listeners, but this was a purely selfish endeavor, just masqueraded as a podcast. Because maybe I didn't think that you valued me enough, and I figured that your time was too valuable to just talk to me. So
I always
maybe
value
that's
your time,
something for
David.
me to look at, man.
Yeah.
Love you, man. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
love you too, man. This is great. And a fun fact: the only time I cried on a podcast was when we did a podcast together. So
There you go.
yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do part 3, which will be less selfish and actually ask you questions and maybe make you cry again.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Maybe-
down for that, man.
Dude, I'm sure I'll have so many more questions once my kid actually is here. It's weird. Maybe this is a male thing, but I felt this way with Sita too. Like zero connection really to the baby in Cordy's stomach. And then Sita was born and I held her and I was like, oh, this is the most important thing I'll ever do with my life. And just like immediate. So like we had our ultrasound yesterday or 2 days ago, and you know Cordy's like sobbing, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Like there's the baby. Yeah, it's healthy, sweet. But I was like holding Sita, and I was just like taking care of her because I was like, this is here.
Yeah.
And it's funny, until Sita was born, I was also like, if anything ever happens, and like I could only save Cordy or the baby, like I'll save Cordy because she can make more babies.
Right.
But now that Sita's here, I'm like, sorry, babe.
Yeah,
Like
Cordy,
100%,
yeah,
I'm saving
my
her. So I'm sure it'll be the same thing once baby number 2 actually gets here.
It's so
And
interesting. Yeah, I definitely think there's probably some like primordial like
yeah,
something baked into, because like even like I remember when Rory was a young baby, and I was like struggling to connect because it was just like, man, like the crying and all that, and I was just like, but once he like actually started to smile, I was like, oh hey little
hmm
guy, like I make him laugh and smile, like that just cracked me wide open. I mean, like I like the first time I held him and like when I witnessed the birth, like I was just crying. I was like a mess. Like it was beautiful and incredible. But yeah, like once that started happening, and so like again, you think about like all the physical bonding and connection like the mom has with the baby, like that's
yeah,
it's kind of baked in. Then there's like these feedback like hormones that like facilitate that with the baby and with the mom, but like we don't really get that. And so like, and when they start to become a little bit more of like a personality or a little, like I can like, yeah, you feel this like overwhelming sense of like connection and stuff, and that just releases all the the feel good stuff. And yeah,
the
like
the the
I think.
connection thing is actually something I'm worried about potentially with having a boy, and
Mhm.
it's tied into all this. Like I'm not doing a good enough job in my entire life right now, just objectively. And to be fair, this is how I felt when we were pregnant with Sita too. I was like, the man that I am right now is not good enough to be the father that I need to be, and so I did a lot of stuff when we were pregnant the first time around to level up in life, and I feel like I did. So right now, I know this is just the next leveling up of that. Um, but I worry that it'll be harder for me to connect with the boy because it'll just highlight all of my shortcomings as a man.
Mm.
Whereas for Sita, all I have to do is just be like a safe place for her to connect to, and like that's easy.
Yeah,
Like
it's the
no
same thing
problem
for
with
a
that.
boy. It's
Yeah.
we yeah, it's I mean like when like I always say, like he's very squirmy wormy. Like he wasn't the kind of baby where it's like, oh, like he'll just chill and lay on you, like, and the dude was just like like wiggling and squirming, like couldn't really hold on. It's like, I was just like, oh, I'm like, oh, I just want to accept my love, I want to squeeze you, I want to cuddle, and like so he was not like off the bat a very affectionate person, but like I am extremely affectionate and touchy, and so I was just like showering this baby boy with like kisses and hugs and all this stuff, and like he's now like the most affectionate, touchy, just like craves that kind of stuff, and also just like craves that kind of somatic, like high
hmm
pressure, like we'll wrestle and we'll like like do lots of hard challenging things and like bike really fast up hills and stuff and like do all that kind of stuff, but like they need that affection and that love, and just as much as a girl does. And so
Sure.
I feel like it's so important. And the other thing too is like, dude, like you are enough, like you're like the dad you are right now, like you're prepared for this next kid. Like you don't need to really change anything about you. Like the only thing kids really need is just like to feel safe, to feel loved, and to feel heard. And like so, like you can do that right now. Like and so there's really no one you have to become or anything you have to do or have like optimized for your business or whatever. Like it's there's all this stuff we feel like we should be doing, and like I feel like parents a lot of times feel like we're dropping the ball on something, like like, "Oh, I want to do this and I should be doing that, and like I could be better at that." But like one of the best content creators I follow on like parenting and stuff, like, it's just like like if you lose your shit, or if you like get irritated and you raise your voice, or you do something that you wish you wouldn't have done, or like you could have done better, you just repair it. You know what I mean? And it's like the stuff that where like I worry like, oh, do I have this tendency of like yelling like my dad used to yell at me, and like, oh, like I don't want to become like this. And it's like the self-awareness of it is one, but then just like admitting when you're wrong, and like no strings attached, like, hey buddy, sorry I yelled, but you were really doing this and this and that. And it's like, no, like just be like, yo, hey buddy, man, I'm sorry I yelled, that wasn't cool, I'll try and do better. No, like, and because you did this, this, and this, right? And when you do that and you reconnect, right, and like that like we're all just human, you know what I mean? And so like you're never gonna be perfect. You're never gonna be like the hit these 10 check boxes before the baby's born and then you're great. Like it's just you just do your best, and like people can tell when you do your best and when you're half-assing it. That's kids are smart.
That is factual. All right, man. Thank you for all this wisdom. I
Yeah,
appreciate you,
dude.
buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, man, this is fun. Thanks for having me on.
So now you know a little bit of the kind of shit that I struggle with on a daily basis, and a little bit of how that's affecting me. If you're someone in our program, you basically know this process. Like, you followed us on Instagram and I talked to you and you got on a call with me and probably cried or bared your soul to a complete stranger for an hour and then signed up. And now hopefully your life has improved dramatically. And yet, for a variety of reasons, that is the thing that I struggle to do the most, even though, as I told Clayton, I think once we'd already hit stop, I literally pray every day for God to use us as an instrument of His will here on earth to touch the lives of other people. And I'm grateful to be in a position to be empowered to help other people on that path. And so I know that me avoiding that is literally an affront to God. And it's like asking God for rain if you're a farmer and God sends rain and then you're sitting there not tilling your soil. So I know I've been fucking up in a few ways on that front. So if you're waiting to hear back from me on Instagram, this is why, and I apologize, and I am trying to do better. So hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek into the chaos inside my own fucking brain, and hopefully you learned a little bit about ADHD and maybe it helps you. Hearing Clayton's episode on his podcast was the catalyst for me to reach out to a psychiatrist and pursue potentially being diagnosed with ADHD and potentially being medicated for it and testing this out. So maybe this does something similar to you, and I guess I'll report back with the results after that actually happens. So as always, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you that listens to this. I will see you on the next episode for more actual conversations about PTSD and plant medicine. So until next time, thank you very much. Peace out. God bless you.